My Hero Academia took the cover of the magazine this week to commemorate its conclusion. There's also our annual anniversary color spread, this time celebrating 10 years. Despite their post-war appearances, All Might is miraculously able to stand. And as always, Deku only has a single pair of shoes. Horikoshi wants to thank us all for being with the series for a decade, and hopes it will stick around for a little bit longer. A boy was lurking in the darkness. His quirk was discovered to be a rare mutation that was unlike any other in his family. Once they found out, his mother, father, sister, uncle, aunt, grandparents, and great-grandma became cruel. As a reminder, Eri's quirk Rewind is also a rare mutation, and hers was able to erase her dad from existence. His family kept him prisoner in the basement. The kid was terrified and naturally screamed and cried. In response, they sewed his mouth shut. Pretty dark stuff. This cruelty went on for more years than he could remember. But at some point, they all started saying that Japan is doomed. They left him with as much water and candy as they could carry before leaving him behind forever. More time passed. Suddenly, a major impact during the final war gave him a means of escape. He hadn't been outside in so long that the sunlight hurt his skin, and he was afraid. He wondered why he had been given such a fate, or why it made him so sad. There were civilians and heroes alike aiding in the country's restoration efforts. For so long, he felt scared and sad, so he wondered why other people were able to smile while he couldn't. The scene then shifts to where the last chapter left off, Uraraka crying on the cliff. She always loved seeing others smile. It was why she decided to become a hero. Yet she couldn't forget Toga's words, that it would have been fine for a hero to do such things. But Uraraka was genuinely concerned about Toga when she didn't need to be. The hero knew that her life came at the expense of Toga's. She felt a heartbreaking sense of survivor's guilt. Just then, Deku leapt to her location and called her name. Uraraka responded while shielding her face. She wondered why and even how he was here. Deku admitted that he had a gut feeling. He followed it by jumping up with One for All. This was where they had a very important talk after all. Uraraka frantically wiped her face while clarifying what she meant. She wondered if he hadn't heard that she'd be going home instead of staying at the dorms. Deku already knew. He wouldn't have had an issue if that was really what she wanted. But he had a feeling that she'd be up here, and that feeling was correct. Uraraka wondered why that was. Avoiding eye contact, she told him that she didn't want to be seen. Deku apologized, but he wanted to show her. He could tell that she had been shifting the focus elsewhere since the war. According to him, it's always been that way with her, ever since the very beginning with the UA entrance exam. When they first met, she saved him from falling flat on his face. He wondered if she remembered the point system. Disregarding the fact that she saved him from fall damage during the test, Deku saw footage of Uraraka asking All Might if some of her points could be given to him. Tears welled up in his eyes as he reiterated that she has always been this way. She turned the name Deku, a symbol of his childhood ridicule, into the virtuous name of a great hero. She attributed the message of do your best to it before anyone else. Uraraka always puts others ahead of herself. The sports festival was no different. Instead of revealing her disappointment and souring the mood, she broke down into tears in private. Again and again, Uraraka has always been like this. She was failing to hold back her tears. Deku remembered how she didn't hesitate to help him when Black Whip first manifested, or how she advocated for the civilians to accept him in the midst of crisis. Her tears became heavier. Deku let Uraraka know that she is his hero. But it was for that very reason that he didn't want to depend on her strength forever. Deku reached out and let her know that holding someone's hand can put your heart at ease. Uraraka did so and no longer withheld her overflow of emotions. She allowed herself to be vulnerable as she blamed herself for Toga's death. She blamed herself for being stabbed and having unnecessary thoughts. In the end, Toga's quirk wasn't some sort of horrible thing to be scrutinized. It allowed her to share her blood with anyone. Regardless of her outward appearance, something like that could have been very beneficial to society. She wondered if there wasn't a way that they could have found her sooner. She blamed herself for not realizing sooner, for not truly seeing Toga until it was too late. Uraraka questioned if things would have been different if they had met as children. A repeated question was then posed by our narrator, future Deku. When heroes suffer, who will be there to protect the heroes? Which adds even more meaning to the phrase, "I am here," which is the name of the chapter. Deku admitted that he's been having similar thoughts about Shigaraki. He considered his difficulty speaking when he was praised by a freshman. Although the war was over, things would never be the same again, which was a major takeaway from his conversation with Spinner. Just before he totally went rogue, All For One told Deku that the path he has chosen is a thorny one. But even so, Deku still believes that they should extend a hand even when it's none of their business. Which, like Uraraka's outlook on smiles, is a core element of Deku's character. Just then, the two were spotted by Dark Shadow and the crowd behind it, and Uraraka was actually making Deku float. The rest of Class 2A was shocked to see that Uraraka was with Deku. Sue cried out to her best friend and leapt into her arms. She was waiting for Uraraka to open up to her, but Sue made it clear that she can always confide in her. Deku looked at his hand. He could feel the embers. Then he clenched his fist with a smile. Bakugo knew that Deku jumped all the way up. He wondered if the embers were okay. Deku responded that they're fine, but this was news to the rest of the class. They had no idea that their friend was approaching quirklessness. We thought that Deku's use of them at the end of the last chapter was a bit loose, but chalked it up to not being too strenuous. But the fact that he had to check to confirm makes it very clear how faint the flames really are. And it's just like Deku to disregard that for the sake of others. Eraserhead was with them. They all wondered why Deku hadn't told them sooner. Aizawa had a soft smile on his face. He knew that many of his kids were struggling, so it was really nice to see them all be there for one another. Future Deku continued to say that One for All was completed. He believed that it was a power brought together by the bravery of many people. Later, in honor of their contributions to the war effort, several students received stone busts. This included Monoma. Eri prepared to sing while making sure that Jiro was ready to play guitar. Oyama cheered them on with tears in his eyes. They were all enjoying Oyama's farewell party, as he has decided to effectively be held back and restart his hero training from scratch. Eri was really into her performance and was blowing everyone away. She uplifted their spirits when they needed it the most, just like they had for her. This is a realization of her dream that she spoke to them about. Future Deku spoke of he and his friends creating something of their own. Elsewhere, Hawks was having a conversation with All Might. The former top hero wanted to expand a part of the hero billboard chart. They were sharing a meal just like Hawks had with Endeavor after the last billboard ceremony. All Might believes that they should wait until the restoration progresses further to implement the changes. But he argued that many non-heroes played essential roles during the war. Hawks agreed that some people should be considered heroic figures rather than heroes. All Might wanted to abolish the popularity aspect of the charts altogether. His eyes have also become a bit more normal. Hawks recognized that a system with merits and demerits tends to always focus on demerits. Thinking of what a hero like Endeavor meant to him as a child, he wanted to change things while preserving the positives. Although Endeavor was terrible, his insistence on efficiency and perfection that had been facilitated by the system saved countless lives. Not even the greatest hero can be everywhere every time. In order to save as many people as possible, they would need to abandon the old way of doing things. All Might realized that this meant having multiple greatest heroes, which Hawks agreed with. We've seen the position of greatest hero be shifted into a collective symbol. And if they're adding the designation of heroic figures, Deku, even without a quirk, will still have a place in their line of work. The concept of who or what a hero can be will be expanded forever. The boy left the alleyway and drew closer to others. There was a heteromorphic man smiling with his pregnant partner. The sight of happiness only reminded the boy of what he himself lacked. Darkness began leaking from his fingers as his quirk activated. But just then, an elderly woman called out to him while holding his other hand. The boy looked up to her with empty eyes. This is the same old woman that encountered Shigaraki as a child. Back then, she shuddered at the sight of him and didn't involve herself any further. She wondered if that little boy was ever saved by a hero after she left. That question still keeps her up at night, and rightfully so. Hawks believed that Deku showed the world something special, that instead of just cheering him on, they all felt the need to do something too. And what people felt on that day was only bound to get stronger. The old woman remembered Deku's bravery and summoned some courage of her own. She held the boy's hand and didn't let go. She told him everything was okay now since Granny is here. He looked up at her with a soft expression as tears welled up. So even the old lady has gotten her redemption. I hope she adopts him and he ends up going to UA. Hell, let this kid be the one that future Deku is telling this entire story to. Sometime later, Ida caught Deku and Uraraka sneaking off and wondered what they were up to. The two smiled together happily. Ahead of them all was a society where heroes would have time to spare. Their bond has only gotten stronger. Ida might have just become the third wheel in his primary friend group. But yeah guys, it is almost time. There is one more chapter of My Hero Academia left. There's still more content to be enjoyed from the rest of the anime, future movies, and of course team up missions and whatever projects may be announced from here on out, but the main story is coming to a close. I've been asking this the last few weeks, but I really want to know how you guys are feeling. Even if you don't comment often, I hope you'll at least consider it, because not only will it be very interesting to see right now, as long as I'm able to, I expect to read them many times in the future. In fact, since there's like no guarantees with this internet stuff, I will be sure to save as many of them as I possibly can. So please, don't be shy. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.